I am sticking the label down in the corner of the fabric. Oh, I left my iron on too long. Maybe it's the shadow. And I'm going to trim it here because I'm putting the binding on the back here. I cut several 2.5-inch strips, the width of the fabric. Then I fold them in half, each one of them. I fold them in half now before I miter them. Because it's easier for them to kind of fall in place after I sew the ends together. Then I lay one of them out, the fold facing up. Take the other one with the fold facing down. Put the edges together. You want to sew from this corner to this corner. And you can take a white chalk pencil but when you get under your machine, just put the needle from there and then sew it straight across to have the needle end at that corner. And then when you fold it up, see, those folds just go together. And so I take my next piece and I just grab the bottom of the binding and I flip it over so the folded part is facing up. I take my next piece of binding with the folded part facing on top of that, facing down. I lay them straight and I pin the corners. So when I go over to sew, I just have to grab and sew from corner to corner. And once again, I grab the same binding, grab the bottom of it, lay it out, the fold part facing up, grab another strip, the fold part facing down, so they're facing each other. Get them straight. Pin them. And sew from this corner to this corner. I sewed one together, and then when you fold them up, they'll just match up nicely. So let me sew another one. And I have my laser on my machine on. It's hard for me to sew on black. So let's see if I get it nice and straight. Looks pretty good. That didn't cut. So you just keep doing this. is not cutting for some reason. What's going on? I will keep going on this, get this all done, show you the next step, preparing my binding. So I have all my strips sewn together, and what I do is just cut these off about 1/4 of an inch. And since I've already ironed and folded them, this is what it looks like. I know it's black and it's hard to see. So I just keep going along and cutting them off about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to start sewing the binding on. I'm leaving a good 10 inches from the beginning to start. Sewing it at 1/4 of an inch. And I will just sew on to the first corner so you can see how I do the corner. Hopefully I won't hit the camera. And you stop every so often to adjust. So I pull it out, I bring my binding up at a 45-degree angle up on top, give it a little finger press, then I fold it back down on itself, I turn my quilt around, and get it back under there. Start sewing. And keep adjusting the quilt so you have room. I'll go a little further so you can see what the binding looks like, and I can too, and make sure I didn't mess it up. but that's how it'll look. And I sew mine onto the front. Since it's only family, it doesn't need to be hand sewn. And my hands just don't hand sew as well. So I'll get the binding all sewed on. Okay, this is Margaret Lewing's method from Margaret Lewing's quilting. Button as close and as tight as possible. And measure down 2.5 inches and cut it off. I take this side with the fold and set it up like this. It's kind of cut crooked. And then I take this side and I put it right even like this. And I'm going to pin it. And I am going to sew from this corner down to that corner like I did the rest. And I will come back and show you what it looks like. I wanted to make a clarification of the binding that Margaret Lewing teaches on her videos, Margaret Lewing Quilting. And when you come to the end of your quilt and you put your bindings together so you can miter them, what you do is where you started, the 10 inches where you started, you'll have that part open. You just cut a nice straight edge for that part. And then as you quilt, or as you add the binding around the quilt and you come to the end of your binding, overlap the first of it, because you'll have more of it. What you want to do is you take the end of your binding that you're finishing up and you fold it over to butt up to the raw end of where you begun your binding, where you started sewing your binding. So you butt that up, go down 2.5 inches. So you take the end of your binding, fold it back on itself, and get that very tight as you can together. Then you measure down 2.5 inches and you cut it. So once you cut it, that's going to be 2.5 inches, and you butt them ends up to the raw end and to the folded end. And the reason you cut it 2.5 inches is because your binding was cut at 2.5 inches. And once you have that cut, the 2.5 inches, then you lay the binding out, the ending of the binding with the fold crease facing up. You take the beginning of your binding and you unfold it, and you take the fold of it and place it down. And you make the top and the side even. And then you will pin it. And once again, you want to start at the very corner and sew diagonally straight down to the other corner. And then once you do that, you will cut off 1/4 inch. And when you fold your binding up and back over on itself, you will have a perfectly mitered binding. And you'll see that in my video. So I got it sewed together from corner to corner. And before I'm going to lay it out and see how that just fits there nicely. You take it and you cut quarter of an inch. Fold your binding back. And then you just finish sewing it on. Once again, that method came from Margaret Lewing's Quilting. The only one I can remember how to do. So I'll get that sewed on and I'll show you what my next step is. Alright, got it all sewn down. The next step is to iron my binding out toward the front. And then when I get it done, I just roll it over. Just keep pressing it. And on the corners, you just press them outward. So I'll get that done, and I'll show you my next step. So I just keep pressing it and clipping it. Just start sewing my binding down, and I'm trying to do this one-handed. And once again, you adjust your quilt as you need. So I'm going to finish this up, and I will show you the finished product. Quilt is all done. It is laying on my queen size bed. So that's what it looks like on a bed. And that's the bottom of it. So I hope she likes her Christmas present. The binding is all on. That's how I'm going to give it to her. Well, thanks for watching my videos, and I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, will you do me a favor? Subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. There's a bell on the side of the subscription button. If you would click that bell, you will be notified of all my upcoming videos. And if there's anything you would like me to see me make or bake or cook, or just let me know in the comment section. So thanks a lot. You guys have a great and blessed day. Bye.